Hey everybody, we're here in Israel, as I mentioned before, and today is Shavuot, the Feast of Pentecost, but it's being celebrated here in Israel, and I ran into one of our good contacts here in Israel, is Gabi Corey, and if you guys recall, when Israel was attacked by Hamas back in October 7th, we were somehow, through the Lord's providence, got in touch with Gabi through different channels, and I don't want to go into all the details of how we got to him, but somehow the Lord brought us to Gabi, and Gabi would give us updates of what was going on the ground, if you recall. And he did several of those early in the morning on Wednesday night for us, and was great. And so anyway, from then, we've developed a relationship with him, contact on the ground. He is the in-house consultant for Baptist Village. Am I right on that? Mm-hmm. Okay. And with Gabi, he can tell us a lot more of what's going on, not only at Baptist Village, but the impact of coming over here and serving in Israel, what that will do. And so I'm going to let Gabi speak and tell the audience, Gabi, number one, what you're doing as a consultant, how that makes an impact here in the nation of Israel, and how they can make an impact.
That's awesome. Well, good to see all of you. I mean, I can't see you, but if I could, good to see you all again. And yeah, great to run into you guys as well.
Yeah.
It has been quite a crazy journey since October, and I can just say in simple forms that God has definitely lined so many of us up to be ready for the time and exactly where and when He wanted us to be. So yes, we got to know you guys well throughout the beginning and continuation of this war, and I'm sad that you guys have to continue to be here for the reasons you are, but I'm really glad that you're here connecting, networking, getting to see what's going on with ministry on the ground here. And as far as my role with the Baptist Village goes, it was supposed to be in-house consulting. It turned something a little bit different during the war, but as things have stabilized a little bit more into the winter and coming now into the spring and summer, I've stepped back in to support the team, just help them. How do you build a team that thrives? How do you look at an organization, restructure, reposition things? Especially with all the complications here in general in Israel, and even with this specific organization, but just trying to help this team be the best it can and do what they do best. Now, what I can say, not knowing exactly what you guys have heard or not about what the Baptist Village does or why they're so unique and special, there's very few places in Israel that provide dedicated places for believers to function.
Yeah.
You might have other guest houses run by believers. You might have hotels and other campsites, but a retreat camp center that is dedicated only for believers in Israel is a very big thing. Hearing the shofars out there, I believe it's not an alarm, thankfully. Sadly, today's Shavuot, and I'm going to take us on a little tangent real quick. Every day, the north is being attacked with drones and missiles every single day. But today, Shavuot, it was quite a busy morning, let's say, for the north. So praying for everyone's safety up there. So hopefully we're not going to get any alerts down this way. We usually don't get that many. It's been several weeks since we've had any, but sadly it's been a very active day today. In any case, so there's very few places that function as a dedicated place for believers, and that's what's so unique about the Baptist Village. They're not just opening the door and saying, great, here, we'll turn on lights and here's a place for you, but actually saying, hey, local body, Arab, Jew, Chinese, Ethiopian, everything else between, Russian, what do you guys need to function for your kids' camps, for your conferences, for your congregational retreats? And so they're constantly looking for ways that they can accommodate the local body. And again, it's a dedicated place for the local body. So I know I've heard that you guys are going to be sending some more volunteers out here, but outside of volunteer teams, no one can just rent a place here. You can't just call and be like, hey, I want a room for the night. No, sorry, this is meant for ministry, and we're going to make sure the ministry can continue to occur and happen.
Yeah.
And so in a nutshell, if you had to describe what the Baptist Village is about, they have a vision that the Israeli body will have all of the resources that it needs to be light both in Israel and to the nations, right? They want to see the body of believers grow here in Israel, become stronger, become more equipped, have everything that they need, and eventually, or continually, go out and reach the nations and impact the world like Israel's supposed to be that light to the nations.
Yeah, amen.
And so in that, the Baptist Village's unique role is that they provide the place. They provide one of those places. They're not responsible for all of the places.
Yeah.
But they're going to provide a place with every resource that they have to say, hey, we're going to provide a place that ministries can come here, they can be encouraged, they can grow, they can receive support. And honestly, they're in a state of renewal of understanding what that means here locally. And they're fighting through different tensions and politics and different things,
Sure.
but there really is a heartbeat here to say, we have to make sure that there's always a place here for the believers to thrive and to function, and even to be a place of refuge and safety like we saw during the war, where they just
Right.
got to dabble in what God has been planning for them of being a place of refuge.
Yeah.
There was tents that were, put up only weeks before the war started that acted as an incredible distribution center where you guys were able to help also bring in stock needs
Yeah.
for families and soldiers and others alike. The bomb shelters that came here just within the nick of time, they were ordered a year prior. There's all these miracles that God lined up, but there's vision for the future of what else this place can provide as
Yeah.
kind of safety.
Amen. We were speaking off air, you and I, and we were talking about if someone comes over here and starts serving, like we're planning on doing, what kind of impact does that make? We talked about, what can they expect to see? What have you seen as far as impacting the nation of Israel?
Yeah, that's really good. One thing that I appreciate the more that I've gotten to work with the leadership here and really dig into the heartbeat is seeing that there is a shared value of living with open hands, not holding tightly to things. So what I'm starting with there is that when you guys get to come here and serve, there's going to be a desire to say, hey, the Baptist Village has needs and we're hoping you can help with cleaning or fixing pipes or building fences or whatever it might be. There's the myriad of needs. It's a huge facility, by the way. It's 30 plus acres that are fenced in. But my point is that there's also going to be a desire to say, hey, what else do you want to do? Can we connect with the congregation? Can we connect with other ministries? Can we not just hold you in our little bubble, but allow you to also grow and experience what you experience while you're here? But while you're here, depending on what season you come, depending on what you see, you might get to see and taste the fruit of your labor, or you might get to see it from afar. But what you're going to see here, if you're here during the right times, is like what we see today, which is amazing activities happen with multiple different types of ministries across the board, youth ministries, congregations, everything in between that you could think of all cultures and walks of Israeli society, which is crazy diverse, by the way. So what the neat thing is this: yes, you might not be, let's call it doing direct ministry, where you're actually, handing out a meal or you're engaged with somebody, but you're a builder, or putting together the building blocks that allows ministry to happen. You get to be the one that actually ensures that, hey, there's a beautiful and prepared facility to welcome guests to take care of their needs. Maybe you do even get to come during an event that you can actually even volunteer and support, but you're getting to do a lot with a little. In essence, I'm just going to paint this room. Well, you don't know if that beautifully painted room is what totally touches a ministry leader's heart when they come here just to have a rest with their congregation. Like, wow, this is a nice space. Yeah. You don't know the effect that your labor is going to have, but it's a very wide reach is what I want to encourage you. You're not doing the one-on-one ministry. You're doing hey, we're going to be the undergird, the arms lifting support for a wealth of ministry to happen here.
Yeah, that's good. You and I have talked on the phone a lot since October 7th, and I want to give them some insight. And what I want to talk about is you're a Messianic believer, and the role you play here in Israel, obviously to introduce many of the Jewish people to the Messiah. That's a tricky one. It's not like when we go down to El Salvador and we go door to door and we're just sharing the gospel door to door, and it's a different witness, I guess. Yeah. Explain to the audience, and especially in America, because they're used to the cold witnessing, just going up to someone. Explain how the building of the bridges, of the relationship aspects that you and I have talked about. Explain that dynamic to the audience.
Yeah. Wow. This is something that books and volumes of books and videos and you will spend a lifetime talking about this subject and what works, what doesn't work, what could work. I'll say a high level statement, which I feel like we'll all agree is obvious, but it really rings true here. It is not our job to complete the work. It's our job to plant the seeds. And the frustrating part can be that sometimes it takes a really, really, really long time for a plant to grow from a seed.
Yeah.
And in Israel, unlike many other places, unlike any other place, it could literally take a lifetime to see that seed grow. Okay, now, what I'm not trying to give it is an illusion of a cop-out that we're not called to do the work, we're not called to be a light. But there's just a reality here that's different where you're not working from a demographic that is even slightly receptive to what you're speaking. You're working with a mixed demographic. A large portion are either firmly opposed to what you're even bringing up, or they've heard stories, or they think things, or they have a paradigm built in of who you are and what you're coming with.
Yeah.
And we could dig into all the complications of 2,000 years of history and why that exists.
Right.
But it is a complicated factor. Now, we do see great things happen here. We do see ministries of all walks have an impact, but oftentimes where we see the greatest impact is the one-on-one. It's that one-on-one relationship. Yeah. I can tell you a story about it's actually a soldier. So cool. I think you'll be able to meet our friend who've been helping out, but an associate of his who was coming to pick up a helmet for my friend.
Yeah.
It's complicated, but we weren't even supposed to meet him. Teresa and her team from the north helped buy the helmet.
Yeah.
A different guy came to pick it up. The guy who came to pick up this helmet, he started talking to me. Wait, what is this place? What are you guys who are all about? And we talked a little bit. He came and he talked to one of our other staff members, heard a little bit. He calls me on the phone as he's leaving. He's like, Gabi? And I've only talked to him once before. He's like, I had no idea. I knew something. I was missing something in scripture. I knew I was missing something. I had no idea. We spent the next several hours just talking back and forth about our beliefs. Who are we as Jewish people? What God's called our people to? We broke it all down. Now, we didn't actually say a prayer or anything at the end of that call, but I've never heard anyone in my life so excited to actually hear and experience the truth. Now, for him, his heart was open. He was curious and excited.
Sure.
But that's still it's that one-on-one engagement. It's not a shoving something down people's throat.
Right.
Again, God can use anything. God can use any seed of any kind. The worst seed, the best seed. It's not up to us to decide that. We just have to respond in obedience to what we're being called to in the moment. Here, there's almost an opposition to the religious to not be like the religious. So what you see is actually a pulling away sometimes from what it means to be a Jewish person, what God's called us to. Versus looking like something that we don't want to be, looking like we're religious when we don't want to be. And so all I'm trying to say is that for me, what I've actually found to be an incredible beneficial witness is not at all hiding away from who we believe Yeshua is at all, but saying, but who am I as a Jew? What is my Messiah, my rabbi say that I am as a Jewish person in Israel today, as a father, as a husband, as a part of this nation. And starting there at that subject is a very powerful tool because I'm not presenting something foreign. I'm not presenting something different. I absolutely do not use words like conversion, even though we could talk about that subject. I believe that as a conversion of heart. But again, these are words that are tainted with thousands of years of history. And what I really believe is the words of Yeshua, where he was calling his people back to him. This was not a new thing. Right. This was a return to me. Hey, you read it before, and the Torah said this. This is actually what I meant when I wrote it, or when I gave the words. Right. So that's where I believe we can position ourselves. But when you're here, you'll see all different types of ministries, all different viewpoints and standards, lots of different ethnicities and backgrounds. And God will use, again, every seed. And I believe that as we continue to see the fullness of the Gentiles come in, this fulfillment happen, we will start to see the ripple effect here happening in Israel and more people returning to him.
It seems like we're in an overlap period right now. The fullness of the Gentiles seems to be ending because the response of Gentiles is lessening, especially in the States and in Western society. And we've seen a revitalization, and you maybe know the stats, Gabby, of more Jewish people coming to know Yeshua. I can't remember the stats. I don't know. How many actually do you know in the land of Israel are believers now?
So the data that we have is now, I think it's 4 years old now. Okay. There's a book that was published recently by one of our former ministry partners from firm which used to be a part of. And I believe the data at that point was something around 20 to 30,000 believers in Israel. 20 to 30,000? Really small, right? Maybe that's a little bit. Is that your entire online community? I mean, it's not a big number, but there's an asterisk next to that number because no one really knows for sure. Because again, unlike the States, let's say, for example, where it's, you might run into somebody and they want to come to your church or congregation and they say the prayer and do the thing, and that's a name counted. Somebody even stepping foot into a congregation here could be a several years long journey before they're even willing to make that commitment. They might have actually given their life to the Lord prior, or they're in that process, but it's not as clean of something to measure and mark and check. And so no one really knows for sure, but we do know that there's several congregations being planted every year. We always hear different testimonies along the way. Again, we're not hearing about the hundreds or dozens, but we're hearing about the one and the one and the one and the one.
Yeah.
And that's what matters.
Amen. So speak to this, and I'll let you get going after this because I know you're busy, but it's difficult to be a Messianic believer here, isn't it?
Yes.
And I want our audience, we got people in Australia listening to this, okay, and New Zealand and Canada and different parts of the world. Explain to them in the West how difficult it is to be a Messianic believer here in the nation of Israel and kind of stuff you have to go through.
Yeah. I want to be careful that I don't give anything that would sound like a complaint or an entitlement. I think those things are easy to step into.
Sure.
But it is absolutely a challenge to be here. Now, we're not getting taken out on the streets and stoned and killed like you might see in other parts of the region. But there is absolutely systemic marginalization, discrimination that occurs, not just from governing authorities, but even from the population itself. You'll hear stories about people not being able to get a kosher license or a business license, or not be able to rent a home or buy a home, because the person finds out that they're a believer and has preconceived notions of what that means, and then says, sorry, I can't, or sorry, my rabbi said I couldn't, or just, hey, your paperwork seems to continue to disappear. You see issues across the board. In our own family's experience, I'm a returning Israeli. I've had my citizenship from birth, and I can share with you guys the long story sometimes, but let's just say we were supposed to be the easy case to come back to the land because I'm already a citizen. I don't have to prove anything or do anything. But no, we went through years of complications, more than 3 years without my wife and my kids have any insurance or status or anything. Things kept going to a black hole. They kept making more excuses. We ended up getting stripped of all of our aliyah benefits, or the returning benefits that we were entitled to. Tens of thousands of dollars worth of benefits that were just like, sorry, you don't qualify. And none of this is based on truth or law. It's just based on opinions and different people within government that have, again, made it really, really challenging for Messianics to be here, for Jewish believers to be here. And for somebody like me, I'm fully Jewish on both sides of my family. My DNA is fully Jewish. My parents are both Jewish. It's all documented. It's all there. My sisters both served in the IDF. I mean, there's no question, but it doesn't matter. Things are not as clean cut here, and you have, sadly, a very strong religious hold in multiple aspects of society. Now, we're fortunate. My citizenship is intact, but for many believers who are trying to make aliyah, who are trying to return to land, it's a near impossible situation. The government makes it very challenging. Sadly, I'll leave you with this. In 1948, when Israel was set up, the law of return was established that basically stated that if you have at least one Jewish grandparent, in essence, if you were Jewish enough for Hitler, you're Jewish enough for Israel, and therefore you'll have a home, even if you're not considered halachically or traditionally Jewish. You would have a safe home. In 1967, let's go with that for now. You can look it up. There was a Supreme Court ruling. So it's not a law, but it's a decision or a ruling or a verdict that was said, well, but if you change religions, you're now no longer Jewish. And no longer eligible for the law of return. So even descendants of Jews, other people can be discriminated en masse because of this decision that was made. Now, even traditional Jews will tell you, if you're a Jew, you're a Jew. You can't actually stop being a Jew. I also personally very much believe that. We were established as a people. We're to remain as a people. Nothing can strip us from that. Doesn't matter what label you put on it. But again, so you've had very awful things that have happened to so many people. Families moving their entire lives, coming over, starting the process, getting kicked out before their citizenship was approved. I mean, all kinds of stuff. They make it hard here. So, as you said, we see the fullness of the Gentiles, believe that's starting to come to a close. We believe that the time is getting primed for the fullness of our people to come back. And so I would just continue to pray. Look, we don't need to force anything. We don't need to cheat or break laws or do anything. We just need to remain faithful and endure. But pray that God would continue to open the doors for the rest of the remnant to come back. This remnant of Israel within Israel needs to be here. That's how this society is going to be changed, how this country is going to be changed. And this is going to sound a little bit like pandering or sucking up, but you guys have a vital role to play. You guys have a massive role to play. The way that you can provoke jealousy right now is no time better than this, where you're staying with our people, you're staying with our nation, you're showing the rest of the Jewish people and others around the world that, hey, we're not just here caring for Israel as a whole, we're also caring for the specific remnant, this funny little hated remnant within Israel. And the more that you stay with us as Jewish people and Gentiles alike as part of the body here in the land, I think it's going to have a massive ripple effect.
Good. Good. So for those of you guys that maybe can't come to Israel or can't serve at Baptist Village, again, the way to help guys like Gabby and other Messianic believers is to donate to our Israel fund, and that money is used to help these Messianic believers and help these other ministries that we're helping here in Israel to accomplish that. So that's the way you can help. If the Lord puts it on your heart, give to our Israel ministry. Go to our website, go to the giving tab. You'll find Bless Israel right there, and just give to that. And that money goes to people like Gabby. It goes to ministries like Baptist Village and the other ways of helping that. So anyway, that's how you can plug in. Gabby, I think it was God's providence that we got together
100%.
and continue to work with you, man. We appreciate what you're doing, man.
Same.
All right, man. God bless you guys.
Thank you.
See you.